Hey, what's going on, guys? Saiyan Motion here, back with another What If on the channel, and in this video, I'm continuing the theory of if Cabba was in Universe 7. By that, I mean if he was born in Universe 7 instead of 6. Before we get into the recap, I want to let you know this is technically the 5th and final day of What If Week. Even though it's been a blast to make all these What Ifs and get them apart closer to finishing, it has been one hell of a strain on me, so until we hit 1,000 subscribers, we won't have another one. But with that said, I do want to explain why I wasn't able to upload this video on Friday. I do want to apologize for that because this was a huge strain on me and I didn't expect this video to take as long as it did to make. Getting all these renders for this was slightly difficult and I was working on other things as well, such as school. So please forgive me if I wasn't able to get this uploaded out, but I really do wanted to get this video perfect. Therefore, it did take a while. And this is also one of my favorite what ifs, and that's also why it took a while, because I wanted to get it right. But let's get into the recap. In the last part, we saw Cabba be born, who was an elite around Vegeta's age, but he was stronger. Of course, he wasn't as strong as Broly as a child because that would result in him getting exiled, and that would be great. Since we had to adjust his power level to match the series, we put him at 20,000, which is over Vegeta's 18,000. And this scaling is done to match the Saiyan saga, so Cabba's power level isn't actually 20,000 at birth, which that would be crazy. It's just giving the idea that he is stronger than Vegeta in the Saiyan saga, making him stronger as a baby. But after Planet Vegeta was destroyed, Cabba and his crew went on to travel the universe and come across Yardrat, in which they met Paibara, and they stayed there for quite a long time, up until Goku crash-landed on Yardrat as well. That's when his crew met Goku. But Cabba went off with Goku to Earth, where he took out Frieza and King Cold. But his crew decided to stay behind. Back on Earth, though, Trunks informed the group of the android threat and they all prepared. Vegeta was closer to the group because of Cabba, and he was able to access Super Saiyan sooner. Gohan was also able to unlock it from the combined experience of Goku and Cabba. The androids, though, have arrived, and that's where we start. Before we do actually start this video, let's try and hit a like goal of 25 likes since you guys absolutely murdered the last one. It also helps the channel out, so it would be really appreciated. Thanks. But for now, let's get into the recap. We started out with the group going in different directions to try and find the androids. Yamcha is pretty lucky, and just like the original, he runs into them. But just as he does, he is, of course, stabbed and nearly dies. Krillin gets him out of there, and following this, like the original series, the group takes the two androids, Jiro and 19, elsewhere. It's, of course, Jiro and 19 because timeline changes and because of Trunks, because he screwed it up. But one big change would be that the androids have Cabba's DNA. Now, remember, in the original series, Jiro was able to get King Cold and Mecha Frieza's DNA, so it would only make sense to have Cabba's. Now, of course, he didn't get Frieza's or King Cold, for that matter, by sending a drone to Namek. That wouldn't be possible as the drones were destroyed in the Saiyan saga. Therefore, we have to assume that he got him after they came from Earth, which was the only time they were together. And that only results in Cabba getting his power taken even more. But let's get into the fight. Of course, Cabba here is present, and so is Vegeta. But the thing is that Cabba actually wants to fight 19 instead, and Goku doesn't argue further. As Cabba gets prepared to fight, Goku looks on and smiles, knowing that Cabba will do just fine. Of course, the heart virus is still intact, but we'll get to that in a minute. Cabba would face Jiro, and he would start to overpower him right after he turns into a Super Saiyan. Remember, 19's power hasn't decreased at all, it's actually increased. And Cabba is still extremely strong, and as they didn't account for the Super Saiyan transformation, they were actually able to get defeated by him. Cabba fights Jiro even further, or Cabba fights 19 even further, and he's actually able to fire a blast, which 19 actually ends up absorbing. He thinks that this is going to win, but when the blast makes contact with 19, he completely eradicates the blast and actually gives him a sizable power boost. Cabba then has to power up after 19 does, because 19 has gotten a whole lot stronger. Goku, though, after Cabba actually ends up defeating him, still gets the heart virus, and it only went a little afterwards because Goku wasn't actually straining his heart to the point where it happened pretty soon. But afterwards, Jiro is trying to make an escape, and this actually does end up getting Jiro the distraction he needs. While everybody's attending to Goku, Jiro takes the advantage and ends up escaping. Trunks arrives shortly after and sees Goku, realizing that it's the heart virus. Krillin makes a good errand boy, so he is sent off to Kame House, and he's able to give Goku the medicine. But while he does this, the others all look for Jiro's lab. And by the way, by the time they find it, it's too late because 17 and 18's pods are open as Jiro's head is kicked off. But afterwards, the two follow by opening 16's pod and they exit the cave. 16 pod is open and Trunks is confused, not knowing who these androids are. But either way, he fires and Cabba follows because clearly these guys are a threat. After fighting 19, he's realized that. But thinking this is a smarter plan than just fighting them head on, Cabba follows Trunks' lead. This would do a bit more damage than in the original, and the result is the same. The group is now in trouble as they face off against both 17 and 18. 16 isn't actually interested, much like the original, since he only wants to kill Goku, and this fight is much more even because there's Cabba there to help out. Cabba helps out quite a lot because he can just heal. He has a lot of Yardrattian technique. Once Vegeta's arm is broken, he just heals Vegeta, and he can do the same with others. He remembers after using the healing technique that he can use the Yardrattian techniques on the androids. Realizing they are androids, they probably have metallic parts. But how are they not running out of stamina? 16, much like himself, would answer by telling him about the infinite engines. He doesn't think telling him this is a threat, but Cabba is then provoking 17 out of nowhere. The group thinks he's insane because if Vegeta and the others couldn't defeat him, what chance does Cabba stand? Well, 17 ends up firing a blast towards Cabba, and Cabba is actually able to contort this blast completely and siphon the energy inside of him. Cabba is actually much stronger because of this, and he now starts to fight 17. While exchanging hits, Cabba starts to siphon off more and more power. 17 isn't tiring out though. Remember, Cabba is only siphoning energy and 17 has infinite energy. So he siphons the energy until he has enough to take 17 out. Of course, Cabba is using Force Spirit Fission like we saw Vegeta do in the Moro arc. Vegeta was able to siphon Moro's energy by landing hits, and we saw him direct the energy towards people it was stolen from. But that doesn't mean he can't do it to himself. Slowly, Cabba starts to get more and more power, and a huge blast of energy forms above him. While this is happening, the others are fighting 18 and keeping her distracted. There is a sizable team to fight 18, so she is able to get distracted for quite a while. Also, not to mention the fact that Vegeta got a sizable Zenkai because of Cabba's healing technique. Slowly, though, Cabba starts to get more and more power, and 17 does not realize it, but there's a huge blast of energy forming above him, just like I mentioned. And 17 is then extremely surprised to see this attack, but it's too late by then as it makes contact. He can barely fight it. This ends up being like a spirit bomb because when 17 pushes it back, Cabba starts to take energy from the things around him. Plants, animals, anything that has life energy. And Cabba should be able to do this. I don't want to say he knows how to use a spirit bomb, but he does know how to use Force Spirit Fission as it is the form of taking energy from other people. I hope I did make that pretty simple. But the Z Fighters think that the attack actually completely destroyed 17. But did it? As the smoke clears, from behind 17, someone sneaks up and is able to hit him. Through the blast, everybody hears a scream and nobody can tell what's actually happening. When the blast clears, 17 is no more. But instead, a semi-perfect Cell, who has now completely absorbed him. 16, realizing this threat, is much more inclined to fight with the Z Fighters now because he knows he has to. Much with all the Z Fighters now, alongside 16, they take on Semi-Perfect Cell. Now this fight is a lot more stretched out, and that's why Cell has enough time to hatch and sneak up on the others. He didn't spend as much time absorbing other life energy because he knew that he could sneak up on the androids mid-fight. 16 and the group now try to fight this overly powered Cell and aren't successful. They try their best to make a retreat, but Cell is on top of it, and is able to use his solar flare blinding everyone. 16 may or may not be immune since he is a robot, but he is helpless as Semi-Perfect Cell then completely takes out his brain. 16 isn't dead, but it's much like the original injury that happened to him. Cell then approaches 18 as he is able to absorb her. She then becomes Perfect Cell. As Perfect Cell then approaches the shaken group, he says, 10 days. You have 10 days. Train. Get stronger. Right now, you're nothing to me. He then flies away and the group are left at the scene. Goku then teleports out of nowhere, and as he senses the energy coming off of Cell, he knows there's something that they can use to get stronger. The Time Chamber. As that is where we're going to leave off for now. But how do you think the group will face off against Cell? Who do you think Cabba will go into the Time Chamber with? Is this going to be enough? Find out in the next part. But I hope you guys did enjoy this one. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. When we hit 25 likes, I'll continue the series. Also, make sure to hit the bell to be part of the Super Saiyan 4s. And if you made it this far, comment hashtag Cabba in the comment section. But for now, I'll see you in the next one.